Very good morning, very good evening to whichever part of the world you're joining in from. My name is Amit Dhawan. I'm going to be your mentor, your trainer for this entire training track of ADM App Builder, where let me lay down the foundation for the very first things first to take up, and that would be, having a small introduction be done about myself, letting you all know where do I actually come from, what is it that I'm made up of, and I would expect the same to happen from you guys. To help me understand the fact, what has been your technical core competencies so far, what have you been doing, what vertical domains you've been part of, and what is your expectation from this training, and last but not the least, what brings you here. Well, once again, my name is Amit Dhawan. I'm the Salesforce trainer, and I come with a flavor of 16 plus years in the industry, where last 8.5, 9 years have been all throughout into learning Salesforce and doing implementations. Well, I've got good 16 to 18 end-to-end implementations within Salesforce, whether it comes to sales side or the service, or done a lot of custom build solutioning, even including the integration part. Now, what I'm going to do is, okay, as far as the certification goes, I am an ADM 2.1, 3.1, 4.1, 5.1 sales and a service cloud consultant. Well, now the change in the way how the certification is put through by Salesforce is more on the lines of, an admin plus the app builder, which is on the lines of ADM 2.1 and 3.01. And then you have the Dev 1 and the Dev 2, which takes you on the route of Dev 4.01 and Dev 5.1. Now, there are a lot of changes which have happened in contrast to, what we were doing earlier. There will be a line of distinction drawn between the one which was already there and the one which has recently come up. And I will make sure that, I try my best to bring forth the best in me as an expertise across the table for each one of you. Though, we have slotted out time for any questions that could be asked, as what were the use cases that would be given out to you to go about practicing up during the course, during the tenure of learning through the concepts theoretically. But I would definitely want everyone to feel free and break the ice and ask anything that you may feel that you're not absolutely okay with. Do not assume the things, because at the end of it, it is. I really want to make sure that it's just not worth. It's not just for the worth of training, doing the training. I want to make sure that you turn out to be a true Salesforce consultant. That's what my objective is at the end of it. Trying to make sure that I don't leave any room unturned or any stone unturned, or make all the efforts, whatever it requires me to get you onboarded with the concepts, not only have the certification be cleared, but turn it to a true Salesforce consultant. So welcome once again. I will be unmuting you one by one, and I want you to, give us let us all know about your brief intro, so that I can get to understand what is the targeted audience that I'm dealing in with. So to get started with chronological order, Anil, I'm unmuting you. Anil, can you hear me out?
Yes, Amit, I can hear you.
Yeah, hi Anil, how's it going for you?
Yeah, all good. How about you?
Great. Anil, I just saw you log in, so I just asked you to present yourself. Just give us a small and brief introduction about what have you been doing so far, what is your technical core competencies, what are your expectations from this training, and last but not least, what brings you here?
Yeah, so I've been working with the airline industry for past 11 years in different roles. Like I was doing mainframe development. I was a mainframe coder. Then I moved to portfolio management. So I was managing a portfolio of approximately $5 million. Now I am working on an e-commerce program for past 3 years in United States as a business analyst. What brings me to this course is learning Salesforce CRM because I've been engaged with the airline industry on customer loyalty and so many other fronts. So wanted to explore CRM and get myself more accustomed to being on the implementer side rather than always giving requirements to the developers.
Okay. All right. Good. That's pretty good. And good to hear from you. Just one quick question, Anil. Since you mentioned that you've been working on the mainframe side, had you been working as a configurator, as an administrator, or also as a developer?
I've been working like managing projects, doing coding as well as release and deploy. But pretty much the one thing which I know as for the Salesforce background is I need to learn something like Apex programming or something, which is not kind of the old programming which comes from mainframes. So
Okay. All right.
good to
Good.
look at
Good.
that opportunity to learn. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. As I said, this is the admin and the app builder. When you talk about the Apex and the Force.com platform, exclusively writing the classes, triggers, and building the Visual Force pages, that is something, which you would get a hands-on while we have a separate category of a course for it, which is, identified as Dev 1 and Dev 2. Now, under the hood as app builder. So that's something, that we will take up as we progress through the things. There will be certain degree or a frequency of elements, where we would jump into at times into the Force.com platform to do some custom build solutioning. So welcome on board, Anil. Good to hear from you. And let me see, I can then move on to Sanjay. Sanjay, okay. Anil, I'm going to mute you and unmute Sanjay. Sanjay, can you hear me out? Yeah, yes. Now I'm able to hear you. How are you doing, Sanjay?
I'm good. Thanks, Amit. Yeah, so I'll just introduce myself. So I have total 9+ years of experience. Basically, I come from Siebel CRM background.
Aha. Okay.
So I just wanted to explore this cloud-based implementation of CRM. The main objective of that to understand the code behind this, how it goes in parallel, which means analyzing Siebel, what it provides and what Salesforce.
All right. Okay, good. So in the Siebel world, have you been working as a configurator or even at the development level?
Yeah, means I started with configuration and I reached to the level of solution design.
Okay.
At present, yeah, so I'm presenting the solution design for respective problem and solutions.
Okay, all right, fantastic. That's pretty good. Welcome on board, Sanjay, once again. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks.
So we do get to hear from Kiran. Kiran tells us that she's a test lead in financial service domain and mainly on mainframe app. Oh, great. Another one from the mainframe stream. So another person from mainframe app, and he says that he has actually used Siebel a long time ago as a user, and prior to that, used to be a web developer about 12 years ago. All right. And looking into Salesforce for opportunities outside of my current domain. Okay, great. Welcome on board, Kiran. Good to hear from you. Next online is Utpal Guha. Let me unmute you. Utpal, can you hear me out?
Yes, Amit, I can hear you out. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, fantastically. Thank you. And welcome on board. How are you doing today?
Thanks, Amit. I'm good. About myself, yeah, Utpal Guha. I'm calling outside India. I'm working on the ERP space for the last 16 years on PeopleSoft.
Oh, wow.
Of which last 4 years as functional on the financial side. And before that, I started on the PeopleSoft as a developer on the technical side, coding and development. And then I moved for a brief while. I did both, and then I moved to the functional side, mainly on the financial modules, and not much on the HCM on the payroll side. And the purpose of doing Salesforce courses, yeah, I'm just trying to explore outside my current platform, current domain, and because PeopleSoft is pretty much an on-premise installation. It is not cloud-based. So I'm trying to explore and look at cloud-based applications.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm gonna pitch this discussion where you just mentioned the on-premise versus the on-cloud. That's a very good discussion. In fact, why there has been a big change or a paradigm changeover that has shifted the entire focus, the epicenter from on-premises to the on-cloud. There have been a lot of pain areas where many of the giants have not been able to knock it down. When it comes to cloud computing, you get them all be provided as services, which is definitely picking up in the market. No wonder why Salesforce is doing good numbers in the market. I mean, it's not been just today or yesterday. It's been almost like a decade. I have been associated with it. I've seen it go through all the roughs and troughs, the leaps and bounds, and where it has really made its journey. No jokes, but having to acquire 39% of the market share, all in the CRM domain, probably when you're competing against the giants of the likes of Microsoft Dynamics, Oracle, Siebel, SAP, and many more. So it's a big ask. And okay, let me talk about it. I'll sort brief you on the industry sense and how the things have been moving in and out. Good. That's really good to hear from you, Utpal. Welcome on board once again.
Yeah, thanks, Amin.
Guys, we're gonna get started. Anand has a question. What do we get by the end of the course? Wow. What do you get at the end of the course? Well, the take away from the course would be your learning on the lines of ADM 201, ADM 301, and Dev 401. To be more precise, it would be where it would help you gear up for these certifications. Not only that, will give you enough use case implementations, practical hands-on, that would give you a lot of confidence to gauge. And if you be interested, I would also have some mini projects come out for you where you can start testifying your skills and your understanding of the knowledge that you would have gained during the entire training tenure. So if there's anything else that you look forward to, do let me know, and let me work out, and let me see what best could be done for that. Absolutely, Anand. That is the whole objective of having to launch this course by Simplilearn. You will be ready to go. The GTM would be real good immediately after this training. Yes. But I would definitely say that, practically, although, theoretically, I'm definitely, watching that you should be able to, gear up for the market immediately after having gone through this training. But practically, to be honest enough, it is always a good practice that after this training, you acquire your certification. That would require you maybe a minimum of a week's time to go about writing all the papers. And once you're done with that, parallelly, you could have already, started off with your job process or your prospects process, whatnot, where you can surely engage yourself into the industry and start actively looking into it once your certification is acquired. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Sanjay says, do we are getting all administration course materials with certification practice materials? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here. So I'm not on Windows, I'm on Mac. So there might be a slight difference in the look and feel as to what you see, but not on your respective orgs. Now, let me also talk about what is this org that we are talking about every now and then, and also lay down the foundation for the cloud computing concept. So let me just type in the URL first, developer.force.com/join. All right, that's the URL. That in the meanwhile, you can definitely type in that URL, which is developer.force.com/join. That's going to bring up the sign up page for you from the developer community. And that's where you get to see this page. So guys, on the sign up page, do provide your details as your first name, last name, your email address. I would generally prefer to provide your Gmail account because that tends to work pretty fast in Salesforce. And you can use the same email address as a username. You can go about using or creating as many number of accounts as you want with the same email address, but with a unique username. Username, though, will always reckon to be unique. Has to be in the format. So the username has to be in the format of an email address where you need to provide it within it the @ and dot operator. So once you sign up, you should be able to retrieve an email from Salesforce, and that email body will have. Okay, let's quickly do this. And I'll call this Salesforce. All right, I'm already created with this email address, so is the reason I'm creating one which is a unique username. It is in the form of an email address. It need not be a valid email address. It could be something other than what would exist as an email, but has to have the format of an email. So once you sign this up, you would get the confirmation that an email has been sent to your account. And what I could do is I could quickly go about pulling up my Gmail account. While I do that, let me quickly talk about some of the very basic concepts. Now, let me also pull up the chat window in case you have, in case I would ask you the questions and you would respond back by typing in the messages there. Okay, so the very basic concept. What is cloud computing all about? Can somebody tell me what do you think is a cloud? What is cloud computing all about? So guys, you do have the option to raise your hand. Once you raise your hand, I'll get to know in the participants listening, and I can definitely unmute you if in the event you don't want to type. That's a quick way of working on. Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Utpal. You are unmuted.
Amit, my understanding is that it is a server-side technology where the database and are all accessed over the cloud, that is through an internet connection, and it is the database is not specific to any particular user or a site.
Okay, good. That's a good way to start. All right. Does anyone have a different tangent definition to this, or probably something more to talk about? So Utpal, once you've raised your hand, you, after having concluded your discussion, you can surely bring down your hand.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Utpal. All right. Anyone else? I do read out the messages. Wow, a lot of messages. Access via internet anywhere and platform independent. Very good. Like email service. Okay. Which we have been using for years. Oh, you're referring to hotmail.com? To the days of hotmail.com? Cloud computing? Oh, great. Cloud computing is basically your all data is stored on the cloud like Google Drive. Oh, good. Google services. Not only that, it allows you to have office-like features as well, like prepare a doc, PPT, Excel, and do a lot more than that. So Kiran says my sign up says that I've already used the email address. So the username that you're using is already being consumed, either by you or by somebody else. Somebody's keeping an eye on you. So yes, you got to go and reuse another one. So you got to give a running number to your email address and what you're using in the username. So Anil says, okay, Anil has raised his hand. Let me unmute you, Anil. Anil, you're unmuted. Go about whatever you want to say.
Yeah, so any sort of infrastructure which does not need you to keep all the physical or dedicated servers and keeping it, so the best example was Amazon Cloud, where you host your databases, the technology is what you need, the kind of programming, web services and everything. So that's on something which is a shared environment provided by a cloud provider like Amazon.
Fantastic. I mean, that's the definition. That's a little too technical as well. I don't know whether everyone has got it or not, but let me let me decipher it. Wow, no headache of personal hardware, software. Good, that's good. Shared resources will be stored in the internet and services provided on demand. Very good. But it is said that it was successful in creating. Anyway, we'll use another email address. Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Okay. Good. I think you all are definitely there and have a good understanding of what a cloud computing is. And Anil did, bring out some technical aspects of it, which I definitely would like to decipher. And most of you have actually, touched base on the hardware, software, and whatnot. Keeping the services on the wire, on the internet, with the scalability in mind, and things like those. Good. So let me also try out my piece of definition as to what I would talk about. When you talk about cloud computing as a whole, you would generally go about breaking out it into three major tenets. It is IaaS, SaaS, and PaaS, which comes up as services. Now, IaaS, which is IaaS, that stands for Infrastructure as a Service. Now, when you talk about infrastructure, it may range from setting up of the hardware to infrastructure, where it would mean what is the nearest geolocation, what is the nearest data center to your geolocation, what will be the cluster of the servers that would be required to set up, what are the different softwares that would be, whether they are updated, upgraded for the services that you will want to have them from, what is your disaster recovery plan, your backup strategy, your load balancing techniques and whatnot. If one site goes down, what is the backup to it? How would you go about regaining it? What is that uptime, scale time, probably the downtime? Are there any maintenance windows to be scheduled? Anything and everything. There is much more to that. That relates to, totally taking care of the infrastructure side of the things is all incumbent or is all provided to you as a service that you need not worry about. You had the right word, no headache. Yes, you're right, Srinivas, that no headache of, getting into all that nitty-gritty stuff. That is where the infrastructure as a service comes to you. Talking about the second major tenet, which is the PaaS, which is the platform as a service. Now, for any technology, for any proprietary language, so let's say in the case of Salesforce, in the pursuit of building the custom solutions on the very post.com platform, which comes as an offering for the PaaS from Salesforce, is where this engine is all scalable, elastic, and built up with such an intent that it would help you not only extend any other application that you've built up using any other technology, or probably even using the same technology, which is Apex as a programming language. And also, you're looking at the V side of the MVC design pattern that we will have step into, where we talk about, building the Visual Force pages using the VF tag technology. There are almost like more than 100 tag components which are available straight from the library that will help you. These are like, pre-reusable components which are built up by you as classes that you can make use of in the pursuit of building the complete UI from scratch. This is where, good, congratulations, Kiran. And okay, just stay put there. I'm definitely going to talk about that as well. There's a lot of stuff to talk about it. Now, when you are having the new technology being learned, the new language we learn to build some custom solutions, is where you have this engine be rolled out to you, is what we're calling it as Force.com. Now, this Force.com is proprietary, or is the native platform to Salesforce. It comes up as an offering, again as a service. The third, the last but not the least, is the biggest pain area, where even if you were not involved at the infrastructure or at the platform level, you would surely be involved at the software level, which is the service called SaaS, software as a service. Now, we all know, we have all gone through this, where we have been into the process of installing, uninstalling, upgrading, updating, applying patches, and unfortunately at the end of it breaking the installation or the software, or getting into the DLR hell, whatnot. Well, Salesforce doesn't want you to have any of these pain areas, and that's the reason why it has taken up the mundane task of moving away from the on-premise solutioning to on-cloud solutioning. And that's where the Salesforce CRM, the birth of Salesforce CRM took in, and you have it as a product which is launched over the wire. Salesforce doesn't even want you to pay upfront. And as I said, the bread and butter of Salesforce is all about licensing. You would need to have a certain feature be purchased for in order to implement it, and then on the account of having that to run on a certain platform is another set of licenses that you would be looking in that you need to purchase for. So it comes up as a complete suite of licenses that would be packaged together in what you would go about making a purchase for a certain edition. There are a whole plethora of different editions that you could go about running through, making a purchase for, running through, or looking into on the Salesforce side. On the Salesforce side, you can surely go about looking into these different editions, which fall under different categories, whether be it for sales, marketing, service, and there are many more. There are a couple of new entries as well, like Pardot, exact target, and whatnot. Let me quickly find a page. I think there should be a page. This is editions in Salesforce. That's what I'm Googling out for. And you will get a complete description on it. Yeah, there you go. Editions and pricing on Salesforce. So you can surely, there's no hidden fact there that you have to really dig deeper into looking at to what is the offering that comes up. I'm sharing up this very URL with you in the chat window as well. So you can surely spend some good time in looking into what are these different editions that comes to you. These editions basically they package all the feature sets which will come under it, and whether or not you need it or a futuristic approach, whether you would need it in the near future to build, that will come in pretty handy for your implementations to roll out in your specific CRM domain ecosystem. Whatnot is something which you got to take a call at the company level. Now, as I said, Salesforce doesn't want you to spend a single penny even before you actually make a decision to purchase these editions or licenses. Is the fact where we have actually jumped into creating these developer org instances. And that's where I ask you to look into the developer.force.com/join to sign up for an instance. And once you sign up, you would surely get an email from Salesforce, just as the way I have got. In the body of an email, you would surely get a long email that you go and click on. Once you click on, it's going to take you to the page where you would be asked to set up the password. Since this is the first time, those passwords will have no passwords for the user who is currently being created as or was probably set, is where you would need to go and set it up. So I am just going and setting up something for myself. Okay. And once I change the password, that's as simple as this. You would get to see this landing page come through. Now, this is the landing page where you are currently logged in. And when I say you're currently logged in as a system administrator. I'm talking about giving you the system administrator privileges, and probably that's what is also referred to as one of the profiles that is preloaded for our org instance that we have got created. Now, before I jump into it, let me also talk a little more than this, where I left out the discussion where the Salesforce doesn't really push you to have an addition or a purchase license be taken up upfront and then go about doing the implementation, but rather they give us the flexibility of having this developer org instance be created, which comes free of cost. And all of you would be creating your respective org instances that was gonna stay there forever until you go about practicing up things there. If you keep it inactive, then definitely it's gonna get removed from your access level. And don't keep it inactive, keep practicing it out as much as you can, and it will be available to you to a maximum threshold limit. Now, I have orgs created almost like 6 to 7 years back, and they are still working for me. They're working pretty well. Though I haven't updated them for obvious reasons, because I wanted to maintain the original functionality which came up initially and how they have actually gone about upgrading it. So just to show the comparison scale to my consultants, and I would definitely deep dive into that as part of the discussion as well. Now, talking about, since we have gone and created this developer org instance with the intent of testifying the different feature sets that we would look into the realms of sales service, and also do some custom coding here. What is this very core competency that I'm calling in as the org instance, or what is the architectural understanding of how do the things actually work out in Salesforce? Guys, does anyone know what is the meaning of a multi-tenant architecture? All right, I'll repeat. I said, would anyone know what is the meaning of multi or multi-tenant architecture? What is the essence of being on cloud? Which is where we always hear this out, it's based on a multi-tenant architecture. Oh, I do see there is a new participant who's joined in. Let me hear it from you. It's MOJGANK@live.ca. Somebody's joined from Canada, I reckon. I've just unmuted you. Can you hear me out? Can you identify your name, please? Mozga. How do you pronounce that name? Oh boy, I'm sorry about it. So Mozga, can you hear me out? I've just unmuted you. Can you talk? Would like to hear you.
Okay, it's Mozgan.
Mozgan. Now I can hear you loud and clear, as if you're sitting next door. Good. Go ahead. I mean, can you give us a small introduction about yourself? A small intro would definitely help all of us to gauge,
Sure. I'm a management consultant currently hired by a client to look into Salesforce CRM implementation.
Very good. So you've been doing this since how long?
Actually, I'm not familiar with the CRM. I know, but the Salesforce I do not.
Okay. All right. So what has been
I am managing its implementation. So
got it. So other than this, what have you been doing in your recent past? Have you been associated with any technology, any domains, any verticals that you would like to talk about?
Sure. I'm a management consultant. I worked in various sectors: healthcare, government, finance. My recent my recent engagement was with a bank in New York in the anti-money laundering space. And I worked on many industries in many capacities, but mostly at the management level.
Oh, okay. All right. So great. That's really good to hear. And what is your expectation from this course? Now, how are you looking at Salesforce? I mean, just to learn it, build it as a career graph, or what is it like?
As much as I can learn. In other words, I'm not going to be a developer. However, I was a developer at some point in my life, and I need to learn more about architecture and functionality. And the more I know, the better I can guide my project.
Surely. So when you say know more at the architectural level, and at the same time you definitely would not want to go into the developer shoes as well. So how would the understanding of the architectural front really help you? Because architectural is all the technical, mundane stuff that we're going to look in and talk about.
Not necessarily. If I'm talking from the business architecture point of view and how it
Got it. So it's more of being a technical architect versus being a solution architect.
Exactly.
Got it. Welcome on board once again. It was pretty difficult for me to pronounce your name. I hope I'm doing justice there. Mosgan, right?
Yes, correct. Thank you.
Great. Welcome on board once again. Thank you. All right. So now getting into some real core good stuff that I'm going to now introduce you to. And this is where, Anil, I can surely have you be the presenter, but it's okay, till the time I can be able to share the screen and, talk about in greater length to what aspects we are trying to bring forth, it would be good. But I reckon, everyone you actually have reached to this point. Have you all got your developer org instances created? Let me go ahead, Anil, make you the presenter. No, I'll control the show from your screen, no problem. That will give you a lot of confidence because I already have done all of this stuff. I know it many times. So I want to give you guys a complete freedom to ask questions and go about looking into anything and everything. That's how we're going to place the training. Okay, so we are definitely looking at Anil's screen now. It's Anil Singh's desktop. Anil, can you hear me out loud and clear?
Yep.
Fantastic. All right. So far, so good. Very good. So I just said that you created your developer org instance and you're logging into the org instance with this as your landing page, and you are logging into the system as a system administrator. System administrator is one of the profiles that has been given out to you. Now, what is a profile? Any thoughts? Anyone? Let me hear from you. Some sort of
access level which is provided based on the kind of role which you are performing with the CRM.
Okay, yes, it is the access level which gets provided at the very profile level. Okay, good. What else? Is just the access level? So when we say access level, let's deep dive into it. I mean, are we talking here in context to providing the access levels at the feature level, at the object level, at the field level? What is it like? Are there going to be some set of roles, criteria? What is going to show up? What is it that we're going to set up at the as far as the security goes? So yes, I would definitely like to hear more on this. Kiran says permissions as to what can be done. Yes, so that is the access levels. Upal says a user role with certain set of permissions. Okay, I will bring up the distinction between the role and the profile here. These are two different entities altogether, and I really wanted someone to talk about it. I really wanted someone to touch base on it so that I can go deep dive into it, explain you what is the distinction between the two. Kiran again says installation of components, activation of apps, installation of components. Okay, I would not call it as application components, but maybe a third-party app that you may go about downloading from the app exchange. Okay, that's again a level of access that you go about defining in the pursuit of doing different activities. Somebody else said something, right? I just heard somebody saying something.
So basically, some sort of a function control.
Function control.
So what I mean is, not everyone should be able to change things or customize things or create new things. So depending on the kind of department you are serving or the kind of role you are playing, you are provided access. Certainly, it does not control the field level accesses because that you have to configure.
So you were right to the point, the access level or function controller, but not to the point where you started mingling it with the role. I'll tell you why. So you've just heard the very functional definition of what a profile is. I mean, it provides you with a level of access that would govern your level of access to do certain things within the system. Technically, profile is the probability of providing the access for the basic CRUD related operations, which is create, read, update, or delete, to be performed at the very object level, which could either be the standard objects out of the box which are implemented for you in the realms of sales or service that comes rolled out or is preloaded for you, or it could be any custom data modeling or custom objects that you go about introducing. How is it any different from the roles? Since I'm calling in the shots for profile to be at the object level, objects are synonymous to tables in an RDBMS. Just as you would have tables that are entities to contain the data against certain field values that would qualify for its characteristic behavior, in an RDBMS is what you would have as objects here. Objects can either fall in two capacities. It could either be a standard object or a custom object. Let me talk about it in detail. Now, yeah, absolutely, Kiran. I mean, that's the reason why I'm explicitly, exaggerating and probably again and again making sure that you hear this technology every now and then so that you gear up for now to be into the shoes of a Salesforce consultant, because that is what is going to make a lot of sense. While the other side, where you have the client, they would definitely be Salesforce aware, and when they talk to you in the Salesforce language, you should be aware of what it means, and when you talk, it should make sense to them as well. So yes, that shift of the gears has to be done, surely. Okay, I was talking about the profile. Since I'm calling in the shots for profile to be more at the object level, role is to determine the level of access at the data level, at the record level. So if profile is the probability to have the access be defined to view, edit, delete, or create certain records as instances of an object, whether or not would you be able to actually do it would be determined by your placement in the role hierarchy for one of the out-of-the-box functionalities, which is the role that comes to you. So profile is more at the object level, role is more at the record or data level. So let's say hypothetically I create a profile where I build users based on that profile, and that profile definition tells me that a user could definitely go about viewing the account records. But it doesn't guarantee me that whether if there is a role hierarchy be in place for any user in a different branch of a tree other than myself, could I go ahead and view the records, the account records created by that user? The answer is no, until and unless the sharing settings of the OWD, which is the org by default, allow you. So it's a full-blown discussion with the use cases that I'm going to bring up, and I'm going to take up these examples. It's definitely lined up to come up. So right now, just a high-level overview. A profile comes into play where you would have multiple users be grouped together or categorically be grouped into one category where you're calling it as a simple profile where the level of permissions would be defined. if I were to go and set up the security for hundred thousands of users, it's going to be a mundane task and it's going to be really crazy for me to do it individually for every user. Rather, I know that there will be many such users who would fall into one category to perform certain operations collectively, where I could just go and create a profile for them and have all these users be grouped or clubbed together under that profile and control the level of access permissions at the very profile level. That's the very reasoning or the rationale behind it. Okay, now there are three entities that I'm going to first talk about while I'm getting started with setting up the users, a bit of a security aspect, which is user, profile, and license. Now, these are the three entities that I would like to talk about first. First up, we've already discovered the definition of what a profile is. A license is definitely, we've already also spoken about the licensing. Now, what I would like you to understand, or probably help me understand as well, first up, that what is the kind of a relationship that you seek between a user and a profile. So we're going to break it down one at a time. So we're going to look into two entities first, the user and the profile, and then next we will look into the profile and the license. So guys, just an FYI that whenever you talk about the relationship, you would always have it as one-to-one, one-to-many, or many-to-many. Now, take the two entities, user and profile. What do you think should be the relationship that would get evaluated between these two entities?
Could be one-to-many.
Okay, one-to-many is one verdict. Anyone for one-to-one or many-to-many? Okay, no one. Many-to-many. Kiran says many-to-many. Srinivas says many-to-many. Okay, so we've got one-to-many and we've got many-to-many. So Kiran, Srinivas, since you've opted in for many-to-many and I see just your name come through for M2M, can you just explain your verdict, your side of the story as to why do you think it is a many-to-many? And remember one thing, whenever we have to conclude a relationship, we always look at both the sides, how one entity is related to the other and vice versa. And then we conclude the relationship. Okay, go ahead. Okay, Kiran, you're again bringing in the concept of roles. Roles is totally different from profiles. We are only talking about the relationship between user and profile entity. So rephrase your sentence. I mean, what do you want to say? Okay, I'll unmute Kiran. Okay, Kiran doesn't have the mic. Anil, could you just go about unmuting Kiran and Srinivas? Let's hear out from them.
I unmuted Kiran.
Okay, Kiran says that mic should be okay now. Kiran, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, all.
Oh, great. Good to hear from you.
And certainly, like when I say many-to-many relationship, like multiple users could do multiple access to multiple objects in this context.
Users could do access to multiple objects. Okay. So let's take it one level up. So bring it at the very profile level. Now let's identify the relationship between a user and a profile. What do you think?
A user could have multiple profiles.
A user could have multiple profiles. No. I don't know about the other systems, but in Salesforce, when you go about creating a user, you can only relate one user. You can create one user. At the time of creating one user, you can only have one profile be related.
Okay.
So that's the story behind it. But how do you take it the other way around? How, if you were to evaluate from profile to user?
One-to-many then.
One-to-many then. All right. So are you saying that one instance of a profile can have multiple users be associated? Obviously. I mean, that is the very essence of why we are clubbing them together or categorically putting them into different groups of what we're calling as profiles, right? Does that make sense? Okay. Now, yes, you're right, Anil, in saying that it is a one-to-many. As when we say one instance of a user, when created, would only be associated with one profile. And I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to show it to you. And when one profile gets created, it could have multiple users be aligned under it. And that's where it definitely concludes it to be one-to-many. And remember, I just spoke about the licensing thing. When we talk about the relationship between profile and licenses, it's pretty much exactly the same. One instance of a profile when gets created would always be associated with one instance of a license. Whereas one instance of a license could have multiple profiles be branched out under it. That's where it concludes it to be one-to-many. Now, that was the theoretical gyan, which is what I wanted to, give to you and make sure that you understand it. Would anyone have any questions there?
I think it would be good to know more examples around it and create like that.
Yeah. I'm bringing up the use case. I'm going to show it to you. So that will clear out the air, definitely. So Kiran says repeat the, I think, relationship between profiles and licenses. Or you want me to, no. Can you repeat that, licenses versus profile? Do you want the definition or you want the relationship? What is it that you want it to be repeated? I'll take a tab. I'll probably, talk. This is the last thing that I'm doing. So yeah, good. So one instance of a profile when created, it would always be tightly knitted or bound to one instance of a license. Whereas one instance of a license could have multiple instances of profiles be branched out. You could have multiple copies of different profiles be created from a given license. Yeah, so Kiran also asked a question that when we talk about the license per user, how does that work? I said I'm just going to walk through the use case. That's where it's going to get cleared. All right, I think after that it broke. Where is it stored? A relationship. Okay. Sure. I'm going to talk about where it is stored as well. I'm going to show it to you. It is stored as one of the field values on a given object. So, just as the way you have the concept in an RDBMS where you would have the parent-child relationship be worked out in the context to having the primary key, foreign key concept. Similarly, you also have the same kind of a behavior where you will be capturing those field values as parent-child records of data on the given objects.